Come to Helmuth Ford, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Hi, this is Stacy from Shetler Insurance Services. Come see me on the east side of the square in Sigourney for all your insurance needs.
Central Empire Wrestling presents Bridge City Slam 7, Saturday, September 6th at the Bridgeview Center in Ottumwa, Iowa. The Legends Fan Fest starts at 4 p.m. and the wrestling show at 7 p.m. Tickets start at $20 and you can get them at bridgeviewcenter.com. See such former WWE stars like The Godfather, Christy Hemme, Jacqueline Moore, and the Vaudevillains. Plus current TNA stars Frankie Kazarian and Masha Slamovich. And many, many more. It's Bridge City Slam 7, Saturday, September 6th at the Bridgeview Center in Ottumwa, Iowa.
This is the Jet Dealer, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is Trent Hammer, and you are watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling fans, if you want the best wrestling news, you want to watch Shotgun Wrestling Radio. This is James Jeffries, and tell them that I sent you there. Yeah!
Hey everybody, this is Brock Anderson, and you are watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
What's up, baby? It's Ricky Bronson, your favorite baller and beer drinker, baby, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
Hey, this is Mason Grayskull, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is Kelsey Magnolia, and you are watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is Bryce Jordan, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
Hey, this is Jared Thumb, and you are watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Shotgun Wrestling Radio. I'm your host, Zach Takis, and we are continuing the road to Bridge City Slam, which goes down Saturday, September the 6th at the Bridgeview Center in Ottumwa, Iowa. Get your tickets now over at Ticketmaster.com. On that night, we are going to do something very, very special for Central Empire Wrestling, as we are having the Legends of Iowa Wrestling match, bringing back a bunch of legends from Iowa's pro wrestling past to get together for one night only. And the gentleman I have joining me tonight, if you were around in the early years from probably like 03 through 07, roughly kind of in that time frame, you remember this man very, very well. I'm talking about the one and the only Mr. Brian Ash. Brian, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for having me.
So when you got the call from Mr. Bayless that he said, hey, I'm going to get the boys back together for one night, for one match, what was your initial thought process?
Well, the very first thing I said is Octane in, because when he quit or retired a few years ago, I made the promise that as long as he was out, I was out. So my deal was if Gage is in, then I'm in. And then after that, when Gage committed, I thought, oh crap, what am I going to do? It's been a long time since I was in a ring.
So when you found out all these other names have been contacted to be in it, and obviously you and Gage had quite the history back in the day, back in 3XW, back in all the other promotions that we had with us there in those early years, did you do anything differently? Like, obviously you probably had to start upping your cardio a little bit here because you are getting back in the ring and it's been quite some time. And if I remember right, were you a part of the IPW Battle Royal a few years back? Because I know IPW did a Battle Royal, I want to say 2021 for like a 20-year celebration thing.
Yeah, I was not.
Okay, I couldn't remember if you were on that one or not.
Yeah, I haven't. It has been, gosh, I'm not even sure. It's been a few years. My last match was that run with Gage in 3XW when he hung it up, and that was a tough one. Even because I had slowed down considerably at that point too. So, but this time around, you're right. I just finished doing cardio, which you may. I may look like I'm glistening a little, but but no amount of cardio, ever really gets you ready for the ring. But about a year ago, I started trying to get into better shape just in general. So it was fortunate that when Austin reached out to see if I'd be interested, that I sort of did feel like I think I could do it. A year ago, it would have it would have had to have been a solid no, because I don't have any illusions about my legacy, and that I'm certainly not Bret Hart when it comes to being in the ring, but I do want folks to have some fond memories, and so I didn't want to diminish the small amount of work that I'd done on my in my time in the ring by stinking it up.
Right.
And Austin was great, and so I'm excited to try it, to see what happens.
Well, when he was kind of putting the show together and he was kind of throwing out names to me and Clint Dykes, we both help him out with the social media aspect of things, and he threw out Frankie Kazarian's name, and that for me was kind of a big deal because he was on the very first indie show I went to back in 2005 for 3XW, because it was Frankie versus Ego in the main event, and Frankie had just come off like that little run he did in WWE. So I was like, okay, this is kind of a weird full circle moment. 20 years later, he's going to be on a show for a company that I'm working for, doing commentary for, and I get a call one of his matches. Like, that's just one of those weird full circle moments when you start going to shows that you never think could happen, type of deal.
Yeah, I remember that show. I don't remember what I did, but I remember Frankie being that. I remember Ego. Gosh, Ego's one of those guys that I don't know why he didn't break through, right? He was, when you think about the guys that ran around Iowa, Seth Rollins, Tyler Black, that did break, Ego was good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and maybe the difference is that he didn't adapt well, because I think he did have a developmental kind of deal.
Yeah, at one point I believe he did, yeah.
But it is hard, as I understand it, because I never worked at that level really. They have a way of doing things, and if you can't adapt to their way, then it doesn't work out. They've got plenty of guys who can.
Yeah. Well, and even back then too, there just wasn't the option for, like the national competition like we have now. I think back then it was, it was your WWE, and then maybe if you were lucky, TNA, because TNA was just getting on the ground, and they were kind of still there, but I don't think they were kind of dipping their toes too much into the independent scene quite as much. So yeah, the options definitely were there, and I was always surprised by that too, because Ego, he would just seem to put on banger main event after banger main event for no matter what company he worked for. So yeah, for a lot of us, kind of surprised he didn't go a little bit further in this.
Yeah, he was, a really, really talented guy.
So let's kind of take it back, man, a little bit to your begins pro wrestling. Like when you really decide to kind of give this a go and say, hey, I want to do this, even if it's just for like an independent run. Where did you look at to go for your wrestling training, and why'd you pick there?
So this was back in 99, that it was Gage, a friend of ours named Paul Letcher, and Brent Fillmore, that all sort of started out together. And back then, I mean, the internet existed, but it wasn't quite, the wrestling sort of internet family was newish at that. So we were just, trying to find, I mean, it probably had only been a couple years since we even understood that there were wrestling schools. And so we were looking for something that, we could do. We'd been playing around, we were all in college together. We'd been playing around, and so we just happened to find Dory Funk Jr.'s camp online, because even for his age at the time, he had a pretty good internet presence, and so we went down there for a week, kind of a basics camp, and then coming back, we just happened upon a show that Harley was putting on in Missouri and went down, saw that show, saw Derek Stone for the very first time, and learned about Harley and Harley's school, and then went down for a tryout with him, Gage, and Fillmore and I. And so, yeah, it was, and really it was, some of it was availability, proximity, and then, you know, the both Dory and Harley, for at least for me, were legends, because I'm a Southern wrestling guy. I mean, I did WWE was, you know, I watched growing up, and you know, I knew Hogan, but my favorite was always Georgia Championship Wrestling, when it was Georgia Championship Wrestling, and then World Championship Wrestling. You know, so I'm a Southern wrestling guy. You know, I was more, you know, Tommy Rich, Magnum TA, Ric Flair than Hogan, you know, and Bundy and those guys.
So you being such a big Harley fan, then what was your first impressions when you actually finally got to get down there and actually meet Harley? Because so we actually, and this one, back up all your stuff, folks, because you'll learn a lesson from this. We actually did an interview with Harley back, I want to say 2018, 2017 maybe. And for whatever reason, something happened to our host server that hosts the podcast, and we lost like the first 4 years of our show. In that little batch was our interview that we did with Harley, and we have no backup of it, and it just kills me that I can't get that tape back. I'm just like, oh, if there's one I could get back, it would be that one.
Yeah. Well, Harley was terrifying. I think everybody that you talk to about Harley tells you he was a legitimate tough guy, not a giant guy. I mean, he was a stocky guy, but you know, I was at that point, because his back was shot and he was, you know, could barely stand, even though he was only in his 60s at that time. But he was just really intimidating. You know, just shake your hand, and just this big meaty paw that you knew could crush. I mean, and then when you got to know him, you know, and he started showing you his tricks with the bottle caps and things like that, and just how strong his hands were. Yeah, he was always just terrifying, but good to us. He was good to us, but you just knew that there was, I mean, I was 20 something at the time, and he was 60 something, and I had and I was probably 6 inches taller than him, and he had a bad back. And I have no doubt that in 1999 or 2000, Harley Race would have kicked my ass, with all of that. Maybe not quickly, but eventually, you know, and